There are horror films that scare you in the moment. And then there are horror films that stay with you because once they end, you realize what you were actually watching. A Tale of Two Sisters is one of those films because on first watch, it feels like a normal ghost story. Two sisters, an isolated house, an abusive stepmother, strange sounds at night, something moving in the dark. But by the end, the film reveals that almost everything terrifying you were watching was built on something far worse than a ghost. It was guilt. And that is what makes this movie so effective. Not because what you're watching scares you, but because it slowly teaches you that fear and grief can look exactly the same. So let's talk about it. One of the smartest things that this movie does is that it makes the house feel frightening before anything supernatural even happens. The moment Sumi returns home, everything already feels off. The silence is too heavy, the rooms feel too still, and every normal conversation feels unnatural. Nothing is immediately violent, but the atmosphere already feels hostile. That matters because the film understands real psychological horror. The audience should feel disturbed before they understand why. The house doesn't just look haunted, it feels emotionally frozen. Every hallway feels like memory trapped in a place. The movie constantly frames empty spaces like something is missing, and later you realize something is missing. Soo-yeon is often positioned almost too delicately inside the frame, almost like someone being remembered instead of someone fully present. And because the film moves slowly, every sound becomes suspicious. A creak, a breath, a movement under furniture, it creates tension without rushing to explain anything. That restraint is why the horror feels intelligent instead of loud. At first, the scariest thing in this movie isn't supernatural at all, it's the stepmother. I'm not gonna try to pronounce her name because I don't want to butcher it, but the actress plays her in a way that feels deliberately cruel. A sharp voice, emotional unpredictability, and sudden mood shifts. She doesn't act just harsh, she feels invasive. And that creates another layer of horror. You start watching the movie expecting domestic cruelty to escalate into supernatural punishment. That expectation is important because the film is guiding you toward one version of reality while hiding another. Every interaction with her feels exaggerated enough that something subconsciously feels strange. And that's why the twist works later, because once the truth arrives, her behavior suddenly makes sense in a completely different way. Even years later, some of the horror scenes still really work because it relies on timing instead of the spectacle. The best example is what the movie does with the waiting. A figure under the sink, a hand appearing where it shouldn't, a body moving at the edge of a frame. The film never rushes these moments, it lets discomfort build first. That's what separates this from horror built only around jump scares. The audience is already uneasy before the scare happens, so when something finally moves, it feels earned. And because the film's visual language is so controlled, every small movement feels violent. You aren't even scared because something jumps out at you, you're scared because the movie trained you to fear the stillness. That's difficult to pull off when it comes to horror movies, especially nowadays, and that is why the scares still feel really effective now. A lot of horror movies have twists, that is a known fact, but most twists just exist to surprise the audience. This one exists to reframe the emotion that you have towards the movie. When the film reveals that Sun Young has been dead the entire time, the entire movie changes instantly. Suddenly, all those conversations, all those confrontations, and all those scenes with the stepmother, they become evidence of fractured mind trying to survive guilt. Sumi hasn't simply been haunted by a ghost, she has been haunted by what she couldn't stop. And the genius is that the movie never cheats. If you watch again, the clues were always there. Who responds in the scenes, who doesn't, how the father behaves, how certain dialogue never fully aligns. The film trusts the audience enough to hide truth in plain sight. That's why the twist feels satisfying. It isn't just random, it was built carefully from the beginning. So I say that to relay that the best twists in movies don't just surprise you, they should make earlier scenes in the movie feel more tragic. Because once you understand Soo-yeon is gone, the emotional center changes completely. Now every protective moment from Sumi feels tragic. She isn't just protecting her sister, she's preserving her because letting go means facing what actually happened. And what happened is really devastating. The wardrobe scene explains why the entire film exists emotionally. One delayed decision, one moment of cruelty, and one moment where nobody acted fast enough. And that single event destroys the family permanently. And that's why the supernatural elements work, because the ghost feels less like a monster and more like unresolved consequence. Even after the twist, the movie doesn't end by giving relief. It leaves emotional damage behind, because knowing the truth doesn't undo grief. Sumi survives, but survival doesn't mean peace. The final ghost implication matters because the movie leaves one terrifying possibility. Even if much of what we saw came from trauma, something may still be there. That ambiguity is powerful because now the film lives in two spaces: psychological horror and supernatural horror all at once, and it never fully chooses one, and that's why the ending lingers. What makes A Tale of Two Sisters really special is that the twist doesn't replace the horror, it deepens it. The scares work on first watch because you don't really know what's going on and you don't know what's wrong. The second watch hurts more because you do, and very few horror films manage to do both. That's why years later it's still one of psychological horror's strongest endings, because the ghost isn't the part that stays with you, it's the guilt. Thank you for watching. I love you. You've been going crazy. Like, I can't thank you guys enough. And I will see you in the next video. Yeah.